Hello everyone, it's Bianca Cordero, registered dietitian and sports nutritionist for Mindset First. Today I'm going to be talking to you about hydration. So now that it's summer, we're at an increased risk of dehydration when we don't hydrate enough. So basically the heat and also sports that we typically play in the summer increase our risk of dehydration, and what we want to do is to maintain our hydration status to 1, stay healthy, and 2, maximize our sport performance. So I'm going to be letting you know what type of fluids to hydrate with, as well as methods to determine whether or not you're dehydrated or if you're in fact perfectly hydrated. So the first thing I want to talk about is the type of fluids that you can hydrate with. So you can hydrate pretty much with most fluids. Typically ones that work best for when you are not as active, or if you're only being active for about 2 hours or less, would be things like milk or water. In fact, you could even hydrate with tea or a small bit of coffee. Though, as long as you're not having lots of coffee or lots of tea, it should be fine. Because if you have too much, then of course you'll have too much caffeine, which is a diuretic and will make you more likely to be dehydrated. But I digress from that. When you have activity for longer than 2 hours and you're sweating profusely, you're doing moderate to vigorous activity, you're going to want to hydrate with a sports drink. And the type of sports drink I'm talking about is electrolyte beverage. So as we do sports and as we sweat in general, we lose both fluid and electrolytes. And electrolytes are very important for processes within the body. Specifically, they help with allowing you to have nerve signals translated over to each other. So in order for your nerves to work, you have to have proper electrolyte status. And so you want to make sure that you maintain that in order to be able to do the things you would normally do and to be at your best peak performance in sports. And so one example of an electrolyte beverage that you could try would be a Gatorade. Gatorade with actual sugar in it can actually give you an additional benefit of allowing you to have even more perceived energy during your sport, which is always great, because the more energy the better, at least the more perceived energy the better, because that's going to allow you to work harder. Now, I also want to talk to you about how you can determine whether or not you are hydrated. So one thing you can do is check your pee, which sounds kind of funny, but if you look at your pee before you exercise or before you're active, you can determine whether or not you need to hydrate a little bit more. If your pee is looking like apple juice and it's like super dark and it's like an orangey or like a dark yellow, that means that you need to hydrate more because you're dehydrated. And if you're dehydrated, again, that's going to impair your performance in sport and can be dangerous as well. So you want to make sure that you drink about 2 glasses of water, if you're in that state at least, before you enter your sport or before you try doing your sport. And then that should help you hydrate up to a level of which you should be able to perform your sport again. The color you actually want your pee to be is a light yellow. It shouldn't be to the point where it looks like water, because that means that you might be overhydrated, and overhydration comes with a whole bunch of issues as well. So we kind of want to stay away from that too. And again, if you're not getting electrolyte beverage during activity and you've been doing moderate to vigorous activity for more than 2 hours, your chances of overhydration are even higher. So if you notice that you're having very clear pee after your activity, that could be some indication that maybe you might have benefited from, just instead of having water, having an electrolyte beverage. And that's, again, if it's for 2 hours or more. One of the best ways, so the second way of determining whether or not you're drinking enough fluids during activity, is to actually weigh yourself prior to activity and weigh yourself after. Then you're going to basically look at the difference between the two weights, and that's going to help you determine whether or not you're hydrating enough. If you are losing like 6% body weight during your activity, or even 5%, then that might be indication that you could hydrate a little bit more. In fact, it's always better to replace the exact amount of fluids that you're losing than it is to just replace a little bit. And so what I would recommend is, if you're getting 1 pound of weight loss during that time, you just drink about 3 cups of water during your activity next time. And that's gonna help keep you hydrated. So basically, per every 1 pound of weight loss attributed to fluid losses, you want to be hydrating with about 3 cups of water. Alright guys, thank you so much. And since it's summer, stay hydrated, stay safe, and bye now.